listening to Cricket World Radio.
And this is Cricket World Around the World. Hello and welcome to Cricket World Around the World. I'm John Pennington. I'm joined for this week's show by Jim White. Hello, Jim.
Hello, all.
Now, later on, we're going to be hearing from Kyle Mills and Robin Jackman and Chetan Narula in India. But first of all, we're going to have another look back at World Cup Week 3 with Jim in the studio. Game of the week, really, England-South Africa. They're becoming the team to follow England, aren't they? These games keep going down to the wire.
They do, John, and if you like interesting cricket, I mean, it's you know, there's been a lot of talk in the tournament about mismatched sides. I mean, good cricket, it's all about an interesting game. It could be a low score, it could be a high score, but the key thing here is that England are making this tournament the tournament to watch globally, I think, as far as any sports go. I mean, it really was a topsy-turvy match. You know, both teams were in it. Both teams tried to lose it, and in the end, England just snuck over the line. And I mean, you know, I think even neutrals were just sort of saying, "What a game of cricket!"
Absolutely, and fantastic game, as you say. England from losing that game against Ireland and thinking, "Oh, are they going to make the quarterfinals?" All of a sudden, they're almost there.
They are, and I think, you know, that's something that Andrew Strauss and Andy Flower again must take a lot of credit, because it's the resolve of the team. It's not the predicament you're in; it's how you get out of it. And I think, particularly, you know, where you've got team changes enforced by injury, players coming in, by definition, it upsets sort of the some of the momentum, if you like, and the team there. But they've got such a good squad and they're managed so well that actually, with the likes of Pearson going home and Morgan coming in, actually it's a better make-up for a team, probably more dangerous in that sense of the word. And obviously Stuart Broadway sad that he's had to miss another, you know, top series, first in Ashes, another World Cup. Very, very unlucky for him, but an opportunity for Chris Tremlett to really stamp his mark.
We mentioned dangerous, perhaps one of the most dangerous batsmen in the last week or so has been Yuvraj Singh, a couple of half centuries helping India to victories, particularly impressive against the Netherlands, who actually pushed India pretty hard.
Netherlands are good at doing that. They deceive to flatter, if that's the right phrase. They definitely, you know, people know they've got to play properly against the Netherlands because they will turn teams over. They've got some top players, Ryan Tendershati, obvious example. You know, these guys, they play decent cricket, they know how to play, and if given opportunity, and it takes one or two batsmen, and they'll put a score. And it's always, again, it's been the bowling that has let them down. You know, in probably for a lot of teams in the tournament, flat pitches, bowlers and fielding will win games. But just on Yuvraj there, second 50 in a row. You know, India needed this one. It wasn't just a case of sling the bat because we're on top. So well done to him for that. And you know, he's becoming a man to watch in the tournament.
He's taking wickets as well, so he really is, as you say, one to watch. Sri Lanka have become the first team into the quarterfinals, so well done to them. They were pretty good against Zimbabwe, a record opening stand between Dilshan and Taranga. And Dilshan, 4 wickets, 144, 4 for 4 in total he took, and he could have had a hat-trick.
Any more falls in there, John? Absolutely right. By all accounts, it was a dolly. So there'll be a few little words there. But just talking about a moment ago, Yuvraj, first man to get 50 and take 5 wickets, if I'm right. And in this instance here, 140 and 4 wickets. So if that had been the 1 more wicket, the hat-trick, the 5 wickets would have been absolutely sensational. Sri Lanka are a team to watch. They really are, because they've got the bowlers, and that's the key thing. I think that's where they're slightly edging maybe India at the moment, who are struggling in that department.
India back in action this weekend. They take on South Africa. Massive game. It always is when these two sides meet. They are sort of right up at the correct end of the rankings, so to speak. How do we see that one going?
Well, I think they bring the best out in each other. You know, you say there's a bit of, I don't know, there's needle, or whether it's just intense competitiveness, or whether they just wind each other up. I don't know, but the level of abilities in that game, it's such a knife edge. It doesn't take much to send players, you know, off the scale a little bit, in that they maybe lose a plot sometimes. Some excellent fast bowlers, you know, Dale Steyn, Morny Morkel. These guys like a battle, they like a fight. And on decent wickets, they can use their abilities. And again, some of the best batsmen in the world. I think that's where the key will be, is the bowling and the batting of that way round, India batting and South African bowling.
Great stuff. Now, I know you've been very busy this week, Jim, not just keeping an eye on all the World Cup latest and the gossip. What else have you been up to?
Well, keeping an eye on you know, sort of ex-players, really, just having their comments about what they think that the World Cup's going. I spoke to Ian Harvey a little while ago, as you know, and his sort of take on it was, we haven't seen spin yet. Some of the talk this week has been England playing 3 spinners. My goodness me, it hasn't for years. Years gone by. You know, Brett Lee and Ravi Shastri are also sort of up in the news at the moment. They've been doing some promotional work. But as part of that, they're looking ahead to the quarter-finalists. I mean, they both fairly obviously go with the top 4 teams in both groups. And of course, Brett Lee has actually got a hand in this. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm really pleased for him personally, because I think he's one of the great sights, and he's really brought Australia back to where they were with Sean Tate and Brett Lee. If you've got quicks, you've got an attack. And with talking about other players we've spoken to, that the Hussies coming into the frame once again, that was something that Harvey mentioned. He said, "Don't be surprised," and sure enough, look who's been picked and on a plane from his state match out to Asia to play in the tournament. So it's been a good week, and it's starting to hot up now, because now we're getting into not the business end yet of the tournament, but we are looking at sort of the final bit of jousting. Teams are now qualifying for the finals, where they're going to be, who they're going to play, and are there any more surprises to come?
Well, that's a good question. Thanks, Jim. And we're going to move on now to Chetan Narula in Delhi. Here he is talking to me following India's 5-wicket victory over the Netherlands. On the face of it, a comfortable 5-wicket win, but was there a little bit more to it than that?
Well, I wouldn't agree that it was a comfortable 5-wicket win. Of course, it looks like that in the end, with that sort of a margin when you look at an India-Netherlands game. But the feeling around the stadium, and especially in the press box, was that India had stuttered today to their way to victory. They were not very fluent when they were bowling, and not at all fluent when they were batting. So a lot to be desired from the Indian batsmen and the bowlers, considering that Netherlands are not one of the top cricketing nations in the world. Perhaps the bowling was a touch better than the batting effort. Zahir Khan was fantastic with his 3 wickets. Piyush Chawla being given another chance was a surprise of the day. But again, if you look at the batting, 5 wickets I think was a bit too much for everybody's liking.
And it seems to me that Yuvraj Singh is developing into a bit of an all-rounder in this World Cup. That's 2 half-centuries on the trot and important wickets as well.
Well, yes, it was talked about it last year as well, when Yuvraj Singh was a bit out of form. That even though he was out of form, he was still a very valuable player, because you would invariably get those 10 overs from him when bowling. He would play the role of the third or perhaps even the fourth spinner. He would get those 10 overs and get some wickets. And he's been amongst the wickets in the last couple of games, especially against Ireland and today against Netherlands. And because of the top order not firing against these 2 small nations, small cricketing nations in fact, Yuvraj has also got a decent run in with the bat. So yes, he's been among the runs, he's been among the wickets, and it's only very good for his confidence. And if his confidence is high, then confidence in the Indian middle order is high, which is eventually very good for them.
Just wanted to get your assessment on the performance of the Dutch left-arm spinner Peter Seeler. I mean, taking 3 top-order wickets against India is no mean feat. He must have bowled quite well.
Well, yes, I think he was pitching the ball in the right places, especially against batsmen of the caliber of Sachin Tendulkar and Virendra Sehwag. And they were really looking to take the attack to the bowlers. They were after the Dutch medium pacers. I wouldn't call them fast bowlers. They were medium pacers. They were going after them. They were hitting boundaries at will. So to come on to bowl in that particular period, and we should remember he was bowling in the time when the fielding restrictions were on. So to get those 2 wickets, I think that was some very good spin bowling. And then India tried to do something differently. They tried to send Yusuf Pathan up in the order, perhaps get him a decent hit in the middle, because we have some important games coming up next against South Africa and West Indies. So have him bat out some overs. The boy didn't work. He holed out. So that was a very, very, very good bowling spell from Seeler. And I think he'll be remembering this night for a long, long time. You don't really play against India and get both Sachin and Sehwag out in one good spell of bowling.
Indeed. Now, you mentioned the next game against South Africa. That's coming up pretty shortly. How confident are India going to be going into that particular game?
Well, if you look at it, India have not been beaten in this competition yet. They have had a one-tied game with England. Otherwise, they've beaten Bangladesh, which was supposed to be a banana skin game for them. It was a tricky game for them, but they won it quite comfortably. They've not been out of the blocks against Ireland and Netherlands, but these are teams that they can really test your will to play, or perhaps you really have motivational problems when you're a top cricketing side against these lowly teams. So I wouldn't really mind too much about India's stuttering form against both Ireland and Netherlands. They set out to not lose to these sides, not have an upset in their plans. So that's what they've achieved. They've gotten good points. I think they are more or less through to the quarterfinals. So the last two games are redundant from the points. From the points view, perhaps, of course, they would want to win both these games and top the group outright. So as it is, they're top of the group right now. I think it's more important for South Africa to concentrate on India, because we are in a bit of a bother with that loss to England, and if we have Bangladesh and Ireland mixing up things very well in this group. But all in all, I think India have not lost, and they are on a good run. They've got 7 points, and I wouldn't call it a very, very, very strong momentum or a winning momentum, but they really have do not have too many negatives from their World Cup games so far. So I think that is one very big positive going into that game against South Africa.
Certainly is. And where's your next assignment for us, Chetan?
Well, my next stop is indeed India and South Africa. I'll be leaving on Friday night and reaching Nagpur on Saturday morning, just ahead of the game. So we'll be talking from Nagpur next, John.
We certainly will, and let's hope it's a good game. Thanks for your time, Chetan.
Thanks, John.
Chetan Narula joining me there from Delhi. You can catch up with his latest reports via iTunes and the website Cricket World at the World Cup. Moving on now, I mentioned at the very top of the show they're going to be hearing from Kyle Mills, the New Zealand fast bowler, and Robin Jackman, the former England fast bowler. Well, it's all part of this week's ICC Cricket World radio show.
The action and the drama at the ICC Cricket World Cup 2011 continues, and we're back with yet another power-packed episode of ICC Cricket World. I'm Moushumi Dutt, and we've got lots lined up for you in the next 15 minutes. On the show this week, we'll chat with former England cricketer Robin Jackman on South Africa's heartbreaking defeat to England in a low-scoring contest at Chennai on Sunday. And we'll hear from New Zealand's Kyle Mills on his team's superb win over Pakistan earlier this week. And finally, we'll give you a preview to what could be a closely fought contest between West Indies and a dangerous Ireland in Mohali on Thursday. But before all that, just a quick update on a couple of injury-forced squad changes at the World Cup. England were dealt a huge blow with Kevin Pietersen and Stuart Broad ruled out of the World Cup earlier this week. Star batsman Pietersen had to fly back home to England to undergo a hernia operation, while Stuart Broad was ruled out of the tournament due to a side strain. England have replaced Pietersen with Owen Morgan, while pace bowler Chris Tremlett comes in place of Broad. But before England were forced to make these changes, they triumphed in a nail-biting finish against South Africa at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium on Sunday. Batting first, England were flummoxed by left-arm spinner Robin Pietersen, who opened the bowling for South Africa. With fighting half-centuries from Ravi Bopara and Jonathan Trott, England managed a lowly total of just 171. And in what was expected to be a not-so-difficult chase for South Africa, it was England's bowlers who came to the party to get the Proteas all out for 165 with 2.2 overs to spare, winning the game by 6 runs. Stuart Broad was the pick of the bowlers, with figures of 4 for 15 in 6.4 overs. I caught up with former England cricketer and now commentator Robin Jackman after that sensational finish. Robin, did England win or South Africa lose?
I think a bit of both, to be absolutely honest. I know that the big choke word is probably being bandied around South Africa already. I don't really put it down to that because the damage was done in the middle of the South African innings. I thought South Africa bowled, fielded brilliantly. I think that England felt that they were at least 30 to 40 runs short, maybe more. They fancied sort of 230 would have been competitive. And then, just talking to Graham Swan in the post-match, in the post-match interview that I did with him, they felt that 170 wasn't enough. And they tried a couple of different things in order to get wickets. We were surprised that Swan himself didn't bowl up front at Smith, because when he did bowl, obviously the off-spinner to the left-hander gave him such a hard time. So we were a bit surprised that they started with Yardie. But anyway, the bottom line was South Africa cruising at 123 for 3, 124 for 3, and then suddenly 4, 5, 6 without getting a run. and then only 2 runs later, the 7th wicket fell. And to me, then they were dead and buried. If they'd have got bowled out for 130, no one would have even thought about, choking or anything. They would have just said, "Well done, England." It's only because then 2 guys got together, a tailender in Steyn and Van Wyk, it was his first outing with the bat in the World Cup, got South Africa close, then they both got out, and then the tail got out, and so it's the choke word again. But to answer your question, I think a bit of both. I think, yeah, they it's a game they'll be sitting there now thinking they should have won it, but at the same time, England will feel that they played their part in making sure that they won it.
You just said that South Africa bowled and fielded so well. Do you think then the wicket took them by surprise when they came out to bat?
I don't think it took them too much by surprise, because they would have been able to assess it while they were bowling and fielding. They saw it turn, so they knew that Swan would turn it. They saw that it was pretty slow, so they knew that it would be reverse swing and bowl straight and bowl, tight lines and not give too much width. So they knew pretty much what England would come and try to bowl to them. And so they would have been able to assess how they were going to go about batting. They had to wait for bad balls. It wasn't the sort of pitch you could make a pretty decent delivery into a 4-ball. You could maybe scramble a 1 somewhere, but it wasn't one that you could just hit through the line and score freely. So it was always going to be hard work getting the runs. As it was, they didn't get them.
3 games now for South Africa. Graeme Smith, Jack Callis, and now even the middle order has been kind of shown. Is that something worrying for South Africa now, the batting?
I don't think so. I think that they'll feel the class of those 2 players that you mentioned up front, Smith and Callis. Smith actually hasn't done that badly. He was a bit out of nick he had bronchitis and a cold in the first game against the West Indies. He hung in there, got 40-odd, whilst de Villiers played brilliantly alongside him. Second match he got 20-odd, I think, before he got out. And today he just got out a fantastic delivery. I mean, it was only a matter of time, funnily enough, that Swan would get him out, beating the bat often enough. And I'm actually, if I were the South African camp, I'd be thinking to myself, we've done really quite well here without 2 superstars firing. So when they do fire, we're going to do even better. So I don't think it's a concern. I think they'll already sort of secretly be saying, well, Jakes is keeping his runs for the big games, and Smithy will be back in a minute.
Well, India's the next big game. How do you think they're going to do against India? Because, these 2 teams are considered the favourites to go through to the final.
Fantastic teams, aren't they? 2 great teams. From what I know of the Nagpur ground and what I've heard of it during this tournament, flat pitch, good batting pitch. I expect a whole bunch of runs. It's going to be the team that bowls the best that's going to win it. Bowls and fields the best, probably. On that score, I would probably think that South Africa were the better fielding side, more athletic, that sort of thing, and marginally the better bowling side right now. So I think it's going to be a humdinger. The toss, I think, is going to be important, because I think winning the toss in Nagpur and putting a big total on the board, then you've got something else. You've got another bowler. It's called scoreboard pressure. So whoever manages to do that, who does win the toss and bats first, I think will make a big score, and therefore I think they'll probably win.
South Africa have lots to think about as they take on co-host India on Saturday in Nagpur. In another superb game earlier this week, New Zealand shocked and informed Pakistan at the Palakkale International Stadium on Tuesday. Birthday boy Ross Taylor was the star of the day as he cracked an unbeaten 131 of just 124 deliveries. An innings laced with 8 fours and 7 sixes to take New Zealand to 302 in 50 overs. Pakistan, in reply, were skittled out for just 192, giving New Zealand a 110-run victory. After that game, our correspondent Jatin Sapru caught up with a very happy Kyle Mills.
Well, after the tailor-made knock in the first innings, it needed a bit of intimidation by the bowlers to put Pakistan on the back foot. Here, one of them is here, intimidating me at the moment, Kyle Mills. Kyle, a bit of life in the wicket in the second innings?
Yeah, it was nice. Nice, cool conditions to bowl in compared to this afternoon, where it was pretty hot. And we've played a little bit in Dambulla before, and under lights it tends to swing around a bit. And Tim Southey and myself, traditional swing bowlers, so it was nice to get a few wickets early each.
And Ross really set it up for you guys. But 302 on board. What was the talk before you headed out on the field?
We just wanted to carry the momentum from that last 10 overs, which was phenomenal what Ross Taylor did today. It was just a pleasure just to watch it. But we wanted to carry that momentum on and get a couple of early wickets, and we did more than that. We got 6 early wickets, which was pretty pleasing bowling performance.
You missed the 2007 World Cup. You're sidelined because of an injury. Here, you've got an opportunity to make a bit of a statement in front of the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. Missing that last World Cup, was a big goal of mine. And then when we arrived here, I missed the first 2 games because of a back injury, so I was pretty itchy to get out there on the park. And it was nice to pick up a couple of wickets last game and again today.
Alan's been working on you guys. What are the core areas that he's focusing on? And has the aggression started to rub on especially you and Tim?
Yeah, I guess, what helps Tim and I is that we're big fellas, I guess, and when you come up against some of the subcontinent teams who tend to be smaller guys, we try to use that height and our presence as a bit of an intimidating factor. And Alan Donald's he's world class, and he's played a lot of cricket here on the subcontinent. So from a tactical perspective, he's been fantastic as well.
Any particular area that he's been worked with you, just also to make sure that you keep injury free?
No, not specifically with me. I'm probably past the point of no return, being 32. So what I've got is what I got. So hopefully I can just stay in the park. Body's feeling reasonably good at this stage, and hopefully I can back up again against Canada, take some more wickets before we play our last game of the pool against Sri Lanka.
Lots of big games lined up at the ICC Cricket World Cup 2011 in the coming days. The tournament's most impressive minnows, Ireland, will face the 1975 and 1979 world champions West Indies in Mohali on Friday. Here's a little preview to a game that could decide the future course for both teams at the World Cup. The West Indies go into the game against Ireland with a point to prove. Tagged as the underdogs of the 2011 ICC Cricket World Cup, the Windies were given little chance of making it past the group stages, especially after their loss to South Africa. But an assuring win over the Netherlands and a surprise thumping of Bangladesh has made the cricket world sit up and take notice of a resurgent West Indies.
Like you said, the past decade has not been the best for us. We in this crop, we are aware what cricket means to the Caribbean people. So it's a conscious, effort. Coaches instilling some good practice methods for us, and slowly we all are getting on board. We know how prestigious this tournament is, and we're gonna take it step by step, and all these ups and downs, it's a constant reminder of what we need to do when we go out there on the field.
For the Windies, it's not just a point to make about the fact that they're better than the Minnows, but what skipper Darren Sammy wants is the team to prove that they can turn out consistent performances no matter who the opposition.
So it's important that we stick to the basics. Consistency very important in this tournament going forward. So far we've managed 2 wins, convincing wins. So we'll be riding on that. We'll be remembering all the good things we've done in these games, and take the positives and put it into the next game.
A week since their fantastic win over Bangladesh, as well as that outrageous bus stoning incident, the Windies are glad to be back in India and focus once more on cricket and keeping their World Cup dreams alive. Not taking the Irish lightly in any sense of the word, Darren Sammy and co have called this a must-win match against a tough opposition. Ireland have been carrying the flag for the Minnows with impressive performances in the matches against Bangladesh, England and India. In fact, that win over England propelled them to 10th in the ICC ODI rankings, just 2 behind their next opponents, the West Indies. They're halfway through the group stage, and the Irish stand on 2 points in Group B, tied with Bangladesh and West Indies. Skipper William Porterfield is confident that the team have it in them not just to beat the Windies on Friday, but also the likes of South Africa and the Netherlands.
When necessarily we start comparing our team to other teams, like look, we've got our strengths. One of our strengths is our fielding, and the way we go about our work. But West Indies are no different. We've got some of the best athletes and some of the best fielders in their squad in the world. So I think that they obviously got that power and Chris Gayle up the top, and I don't think you can really compare the two sides. We know our strengths, and that's what we got to stick to, and just go out and play the way we've been playing in the last 3 games. And if we do that, then I can have no complaints.
Upsets, wickets, records. It has been the stuff dreams are made of for the boys from Ireland. But every dream must come to an end for reality to take its place. And the reality is this: if Ireland want to book a place in the quarter-finals, they will need to win matches against the suggested weaker teams of Group B. And that for them includes this game against the West Indies. So good luck to both teams. And it's now time to give you a quick wrap of all that's happening on the Reliance Mobile ICC rankings. Sri Lanka have moved ahead of South Africa in 3rd place in the Reliance ICC ODI Championship table, as have Ireland, who moved 1 up into 10th. Meanwhile, England batsman Jonathan Trott and Ireland's fast bowler Trent Johnson have achieved career best rankings in the Reliance ICC player rankings. Trott has vaulted 9 places to tie 13th with India's Gautam Gambhir. Other batsmen moving in the right direction include Kumar Sangakkara in 6th, Chris Gayle in 12th, Ricky Ponting in 18th, and Yuvraj Singh in 22nd. South Africa's duo of Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers continue to occupy the top 2 positions, with India's Virat Kohli in 3rd place. Meanwhile, Trent Johnson has rocketed 8 places to 12th in the Reliance ICC player rankings for ODI bowlers. Other bowlers to make upward movements are Graham Swan in 4th, Stuart Broad in 10th, Kyle Mills and James Anderson. New Zealand captain Daniel Vittori leads the bowling rankings, while Bangladesh skipper Shakib Al Hassan takes the number 1 spot in the Reliance ICC player rankings for ODI all-rounders. Lots more big performances expected with so much cricket still to come, and we surely keep an eye on all the ups and downs on the Reliance Mobile ICC rankings table. But before we wrap up, just a little reminder, don't forget to tune in to the TV version of ICC Cricket World. With that, we've come to the end of this week's program. We hope you've enjoyed it. Before we go, just a quick reminder to log on to icc-cricket.yahoo.net for all the latest World Cup news and score updates throughout the ICC World Cup 2011. For now, from me, Moushami Dutt, and the rest of us here at ICC Cricket World, it's goodbye.